Okay.
Rice.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
I'm just asking you like what kind you.
Did they have like noodles though? Like they have like pasta noodles, like not in soup. But yeah, let me look at the menu.
Okay, Andrew. Andrew. Yeah.
What? Yeah, I'm here. What's up?
The thing that I'm thinking is that if you're completely libertarian, you can't distribute all the resources. You know what I mean? You can't. So I don't think like this line can exist. If you're completely libertarian, but you also want to distribute resources, you can't do that. You can't have no government and also distribute the resources at the same time.
Agree. This is why libertarians don't like. They want a small government, but they're not anarchists.
Yeah. And then to me, what also doesn't make sense. See, this whole block makes sense. Because if you're authoritarian and you want to redistribute wealth, this makes perfect sense. The authoritarian left makes a lot of sense. Because you're authoritarian and you want to redistribute the wealth. That whole box checks out. But when it comes to the right, if you want to be authoritarian but also you want to redistribute resources, well, I don't know, like this.
Oh, sounds decent.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
See, I don't. Wait, let me erase that. I don't think this makes sense at all. I don't think the authoritarian right. Oh my god.
It does make sense because the authoritarian right and the authoritarian left are actually like very similar. The only difference to me is that authoritarian right embraces some capitalist concepts more than the authoritarian left does. That's the main difference.
See, but that's okay. That's my thing. Is I'm not talking about the authoritarian left. I'm saying if you're looking at this this thing that I drew, I'm saying in terms of this this line, this can't exist because you can't be completely libertarian and redistribute stuff, right?
Agree.
That makes no sense. And I'm saying you can't be completely authoritarian and have all this stuff because
That's why it's a spectrum. No one exists on that line. Like almost nobody exists on an extreme end of any of these spectrums. I agree with you. That doesn't make sense. That's why it's a spectrum. That's why you're not placed in like hard and fast situations where you're all the way to the right or all the way to the left in a certain category. Like no one is actually like that.
Yeah,
That's
but
a representation of a spectrum.
right, but I'm saying like this. That's my issue with this. I mean, you know me. I hate the political compass in the first place. It's because
it's not
in the first
because.
place, there's certain ends of it that makes no sense. You can't be completely libertarian but also want to redistribute the wealth. Also, you can't be completely authoritarian and want to allow people to have wealth. And then
Look, okay, it's more complicated because like the libertarian left actually does make sense, and I'll tell you why. And actually, there's a reason why I hate it being called the libertarian left. It should be called the democratic left or like something like that, not the libertarian left.
yeah.
Libertarian. Yeah, being libertarian and wanting to like take things from certain people and give them to others. Yeah, I agree. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But that's why they're not actually libertarians. They just call themselves libertarian left because it's like the end thing. What it really is like democratic socialism or like democratic left or something like that.
Social democracy. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so it's not really libertarian. So like, don't get caught up in the wording too much because like, yeah, I agree. Like you can be a Keynesian and be a libertarian at the same time. But, like, the sense of like it just means like yes, allow people what they want to do, do this and do that. But the problem is these people call themselves libertarians. They say that they want a small government, but they want the government to oversee all this stuff. That's the big problem. There's a fundamental disconnect between people who call themselves libertarians but are on the left. You can be a left-leaning libertarian. Me, I'm a moderate libertarian. I'm maybe slightly left-leaning.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like that's what's dumb about these tests because I took the political compass test and it put me in extreme right, which I'm not.
No. The political Pentagon, you mean? The West Compass? Or are you talking about this?
Yeah. Well, this is wrong too. This puts me also pretty far on the right, which is also wrong.
No, yeah, this is completely wrong. Because, like I said, there's certain lines that you can't be part of super authoritarian, super right, because you can't say, okay, I'm super capitalist, everyone can do whatever they want, but also the government has all the power. Like that makes zero sense.
Can be extremely libertarian, right? That's possible.
Libertarian right does make sense. Yeah, this actually does make sense. Libertarian right makes sense, and the funny thing is, I think authoritarian left also makes sense, because again, you could say, yeah, the government's authoritarian and they control the wealth. Makes sense. Libertarian right, government's minimized and you can be as wealthy as you want. Makes sense. Libertarian left makes no sense, and authoritarian right.
My point is that it's not libertarian left. That's not what it is. It's democracy. It's social democratism. Is what it is.
Yeah, but no, okay. But wait, can we also do something? Can we check this? Does it make sense to be completely at the bottom and like completely free and
an anarchy? That's anarchy. Anarchy.
Yeah. Again, I don't think this makes sense either. Like, you're anarchy, but you also want the government to like make sure the game is being played fair. Because like the thing is,
no real anarchist wants that. There is a place for those people because they don't want any kind of government, and they want like peace and stuff to be upheld by like militias that are formed like independently, and like individual communities make decisions for what's best for themselves, and like there's no like there's a lot of problems with the ideology, but like they literally don't want a government. So actually, it makes sense. It makes sense from a theory perspective. Obviously, it wouldn't actually work very well, but like. So the theory perspective, yeah, like I think like all the way at the bottom, libertarian right, like with anarchy, pretty much, like actually, like theoretically makes sense.
Wait. By the way, do you notice the shape that this is becoming?
Oh, an octagon, maybe?
No, dude, if there was a line here, what would this look like?
Window?
No, it would look like the swastika.
Oh, look like a swastika. You'd have to have like the pointed ends, like pointed out and up. It would look like a swastika.
What do you mean? Literally, it's this. This is a swastika.
I suppose it kind of looks like one. You're right. It's a swastika.
But anyway, shit. Wow, we found the real ideology. This is the correct ideology. But like that's my point. Is that you can't be completely anarchist, and also want, because the thing with capitalism is any capitalist, anyone who's read like one book of capitalism will tell you you still need a government to make sure the game is being played fair. So you need the government. So that's why, like things like copyright infringement. I've never met a capitalist that never says, "Oh, I don't think I think we should be allowed to copyright each other." Like no capitalist would say it. Like that's literally it's something. Game is not fair.
All right, I'm gonna go pick up some food with my brother, but I'll be back on later, bro.
Okay, good. I'm live streaming on YouTube. So yeah, we'll talk to you later.
Right, peace.
Okay. So if I'm gonna continue, I'm gonna say I don't think anything at the bottom. So complete anarchy would not make sense. I'm on YouTube right now. So I don't think this. If the bottom is completely anarchy, this makes no sense. You can't have no government and expect things to be played fair. Because again, what about things like copyright infringement? You need a government to say it's fair. Because if it wasn't for that, then we just have people shooting each other, and whichever is the most powerful gang, whichever will always win. So complete anarchy is wrong. Now, when it comes to the complete authority, this makes sense. So if we have a completely authoritarian government and they're going to redistribute resources, makes perfect sense. They have complete authority and they can completely redistribute resources. Makes more sense. The problem is this side saying, don't redistribute resources, but the government has all the power. Well, this makes no sense, because how is the government going to have all the power but not control your wealth? So this way, again, this is kind of like this part here. You need the government to make sure that it's fair. And over here, the government should be able to control some of the resources. You can't just say it has complete authority, but they can't control resources. And so super right can't work. So if we're calling this capitalist side, I don't even know where this. I stopped at 1/3, but some people say maybe we got to go all the way to 1/2. Because let's say those resources are weapons. I think any authoritarian government would want to control your weapons. And speaking of weapons, I think any authoritarian government wouldn't want to redistribute the weapons either. So this part here makes no sense. If the government is controlling all resources, I'm pretty sure no authoritarian government would want you to have the weapons. So this again would be illogical, because they would redistribute all the resources except for the weapons of the country. So this would go here. Now, super authoritarian and capital. These two here actually make more sense. You want to redistribute resources, but you don't want a complete government authority. Makes sense. Makes sense. Again, but not anarchy. So again, we just established this, not anarchy. But still a minimized government. While this side says we distribute resources, this side says we don't redistribute resources. These two actually surprisingly make sense. And the funny thing is, this side actually makes sense, unlike this side. And when it comes to authority, I would say government would actually, I'm going to say 50% of resources. An authoritarian government would never want anybody to, be more than, like, they would want at least 50% of all their money, because they don't want any group or something to rise up. So the authority would definitely take over. So I guess this is where we're at. I think this is the real, I guess, political compass. If you want to, again, you can't have anarchy, and you can't have full authoritarianism. You could, I guess, still be somewhat capitalist and still support authoritarianism. I could see why people would say that. But again, most capitalists would be okay with 50% being taken away. No. The authoritarian left, I think out of all these boxes, the libertarian right and authoritarian left make the most sense. Because this spectrum, it makes sense. The more authoritarian a government is, the more of their stuff they need. And the less authoritarian, the less of their stuff they need. But the funny thing, there are windows within the libertarian left movement that you could exist. And there are windows in the authoritarian right that you could exist. Out of all these, which I guess I covered authoritarian right the most. Yeah, because, I'm sorry, anyone on the right, again, makes no sense. You want the government to have all that power, but not take your resources? What? It's like, this makes the least sense. This makes the most sense. So the least sense is outright, the most sense is a libertarian. Out of these two, I'm sure you want the government to be authoritarian. And redistribute resources. See, this top area actually makes sense. Libertarian left, you want the government not to be anarchy. No anarchy. But you want them to redistribute resources. I don't know. I think this is where we're at so far. Let me know if anybody... I stopped this at 1/3. I think 1/3 is a fair number. And by the way, this black doesn't mean this can't exist. Like, this black means it can exist. The blacks in the middle, it's possible this. I just did that as a divider. But these lights means it can't use it. I'm not sure. Anybody else, let me know. I'm going to save this and